Morning, Your Honor. My name is Lori Smith. I am Caitlyn's mother. Lori, L-O-R-I, Smith, S-M-I-T-H. As I said, my name is Lori Smith. Caitlyn Ray Naffziger is my daughter. I don't say was because she will always be my daughter. It's really hard for me to talk about the impact to me until I talk about Caitlyn. I was there for her beginning, her very first breath. I brought Caitlyn into this world March 10th of 1992 at 10:32 a.m. She was 4 pounds, 6.5 ounces, and just 17 inches long. And Caitlyn has a twin sister, Taylor, 6 pounds, 4.5 ounces, 19 inches long. She was just older by 6 minutes. Caitlyn has an older brother, Bailey, older by 2.5 years. Caitlyn had to stay at the hospital for 2 weeks in NICU. Caitlyn significantly lost weight and then couldn't hold her body temperature outside of the incubator. I was torn apart back then, and I was terrified that she wouldn't make it. I cried before I left her behind for the very first time ever. I had to go home with Taylor and Bailey and leave Caitlyn behind. We made daily trips to feed Caitlyn and to deliver breast milk to the NICU. Grandma Barb and Aunt Corky took turns running breast milk to the hospital and staying for her evening feedings. Her loving family helped her to turn the corner fast, and the nurses said it was key. Once Caitlyn came home, those beautiful girls were reunited. They cuddled up together in the bassinet right by my bed. At first, I woke Caitlyn every 2 hours to feed her, but she quickly got in sync with Taylor, and Bailey was the best big brother. Other older half-siblings, Teria and TJ, were also part of her life at that time, and that was Caitlyn's beginning. Caitlyn's smile was lightning. Her laugh was so fun, it earned her the nickname Goose and others. Life and years went by, everyone growing up, and there are others who are going to fill in with their stories, and my kids like to hear stories. Caitlyn was quiet, and she could make herself heard. She would talk to you if she trusted you. She wouldn't if she didn't. Caitlyn loved music. She learned to play piano and violin. She messed around with the guitar. She loved books and movies in that order. Caitlyn was an excellent student. She earned her Associate of Arts degree. She loved languages, Spanish, American Sign Language, Portuguese. Caitlyn dreamed of traveling. She loved food. She loved to cook. She was hardworking, efficient, a valued employee in many different capacities: food service, cleaning, nannying, caregiver to multiple homes, a household manager, and a right hand to many others. Caitlyn has 2 beautiful girls, Elowen, who just turned 6, Valen, who will soon be 3. Bailey is married to Heather. Heather and Bailey have 2 sons, Emmett, 4, and Grayson, 1. Taylor has her son Calvin, who's now 5. Caitlyn has older half-siblings, Teria and TJ. Caitlyn has step-parents, Rob and Sandy, and my husband Tim. Caitlyn has 2 living grandparents, Don and Barb, plus aunts and uncles and cousins. You will hear from some of them soon. Caitlyn had so much family and so many friends. There are many people who have stories to tell about Caitlyn and the life lived. So many people love Caitlyn, and that love will never stop. On February 29th, 2024, at approximately 5:30 p.m., Caitlyn was stolen from all of us. Her life here was cut short. She took her last breath, and I didn't know it for hours. That breaks my heart every day. But Dustin knew, and that monster told his parents, and I still didn't know. They knew for hours. They didn't care about Caitlyn or anyone who did care about Caitlyn. His parents said nothing to us for hours, and that makes me so angry, justifiably angry. At 3:18 a.m. Central Standard Time on March 1st of 2024, my phone alerted and it woke me up. I took a frantic phone call from my sister-in-law, Brenda. There was an Amber Alert in New Hampshire. Elwyn and Valen were missing, along with Dustin Duren, considered armed and dangerous, and he was running with them in his white Subaru with veteran plates. Photos of the girls and the car were included with the veteran plate number V69023, which is embedded in Carolyn Campbell's memory. Life changed over the coming minutes and hours. Brenda had tried to reach Caitlyn with no answer, then had spoken with the Berlin Police Department, and they wouldn't tell her anything. Brenda said I needed to call them. So I called the Berlin Police Department after trying to reach Caitlyn with no answer. They asked me questions, but they wouldn't answer mine. Can I talk to her? I hoped that Caitlyn was with the police and that they had her phone. Is she with you? I asked. Is she hurt? I worried she was hurt and couldn't talk right now. I had the visual of her in a hospital bed, hurt. My mind was all over the place while I tried to remain calm. My husband got up for work while I remained on hold, and they were transferring me to the state police. Again, I was asked the same questions to determine who I was, and then I heard the devastating words, "I'm sorry to inform you that Caitlyn is deceased." What? I told Tim twice that Caitlyn is dead, and it's just impossible. I'm pretty sure I said to the trooper, Sergeant Mallory Littman, listen, we're a law enforcement family, and I understand there are steps you need to take. I understand, but what happened? I just need to understand how this happened. He killed her, didn't he? And Tim took the phone, or more words from new people. Bianca Monroe, victim witness advocate, became part of our lives. Then I had to call Bailey and Taylor. I woke each of them up to tell them over the phone. I felt sick having to tell them that way, but it couldn't wait. There was no way to say it that wouldn't be horrible. Taylor screamed. Bailey was stunned. We didn't know how, when, or why, or anything yet. And we began the absolute worst day of our lives. Tim called out of work immediately, and the law enforcement family had his back. We called out to our family members, and the shockwaves grew. I called my cousin. I can't come today. I had been working at the PCA for my aunt and uncle. Of course, they knew where I needed to be, and the shockwaves grew further. We were all in shock. There's a vacuum, and a gaping hole. Everyone was coming to be together, waiting, terrified for the girls, fearing the worst, for hours, and we were all struggling with it, all of us. Just after 10 Eastern, the girls are recovered safely. Thanks to the Amber Alert and Carolyn and Keene PD Officer Velez, Dustin is apprehended. The girls are with EMS and the hospital and DCYF. Now, Mark Duren calls my husband on my husband's cell phone. And it's not that they didn't have our phone numbers all along, both of our phones. I got word from Bianca about the girls' condition, their status, and what needed to happen to keep them together and with family. I wanted to fly out right then to be with them. Bianca told me that I needed to wait because they needed to be able to reach me as the next of kin to the girls and to Caitlyn. I asked Brenda, Mark, and Shannon if they would take the steps to be with the girls until I can be there. We're coming soon. And they said yes. Brenda and Shannon went to the hospital, and Mark went shopping for everything on the list. They prepared for all of us to take over their lives in space. They did it for the girls. And we're coming as soon as possible. The girls needed family. They held Elwyn and Valen and did their best. They sent us pictures when they were allowed so we could see the girls, still at the hospital, but with family waiting. And more hours go by before the girls could leave the hospital. We hear the manner of death. A single gunshot wound to the head. The manner is homicide. Caitlyn died in seconds. Be prepared, the girls were present. Duren under arrest. The charges: second-degree murder, reckless behavior with a firearm, endangerment of a child. And we were all horrified. But now we're able to make our arrangements to leave. Taylor, Annie, and I, Grammy, flew from Minnesota to New Hampshire, to the girls, to Caitlyn, early March 2nd. We functioned in shock for days. We held Elwyn and Valen and did our best. And there was no time to grieve. It was impossible to describe the emotions, the high level of relief for the girls and concern for the girls, but we just did what we needed to do. I was told I would need to attend a hearing to be appointed as a temporary guardian for the girls, file online, submit it immediately, and that we should be able to take the girls home by the end of the week. We booked our flights for Saturday to go home. Taylor and I went to the funeral home after the medical examiner released Caitlyn. Taylor and I made choices together about what Caitlyn would have wanted. As her mom, I had to see Caitlyn to accept that she was really gone. It couldn't be real. Taylor couldn't, but she waited close by for me. I wasn't allowed to touch Caitlyn. I stood near her, looked at her face, crying and shaking, and I told her, "Goodbye, my girl." My heart was breaking again, and I could barely breathe. Then I left her behind. This time she wasn't coming home. Taylor played her favorite music in the car as we drove away from Caitlyn back to her girls. We cried and we drove and we told stories. Then we collected ourselves before we went to be with the girls. We held Elwyn and Valen and did our best for them for days, with no time to heal, no time to grieve, just working to go home to family. March 7th, 2024, the hearing for temporary guardianship, where we should be able to go home, some jerk attorney showed up to intervene on his parents' behalf. They weren't even there. Because of your parents, and you, Dustin, did you even know? I was not going to leave the girls behind. I stayed. Caitlyn missed her birthday. She would have been 32. Caitlyn would have celebrated with Taylor. No time to heal, no time to grieve. We had birthday cupcakes, and Elwyn and Valen blew Mommy's candles out for her. I was blessed with my attorney, who is now a friend, and we continued to fight to bring the girls home. Your parents calculated and lied to make themselves look more significant in the life of the girls while they stayed in Minnesota until they were allowed to clear out the crime scene. Then they attempted to insert themselves into the lives of the people who actually showed up without hesitation for Elwyn and Valen. As the weeks went by while we fought to go home, we held Elwyn and Valen and did our best for them as it became months before we could bring them home to settle and heal. Caitlyn's family members took turns, flew to New Hampshire to help, because it takes a village. May 6, 2024, we're finally free to go home. I had done what nobody else could do. I stayed. We loved them and would not let our girls be passed off to strangers. I was not alone, ever. I committed until we brought them back home. May 8th, 2024. Now I am finally home with my husband in a safe place to fall apart. And I did. We found therapy for Elwyn, then for ourselves. Caitlyn's memorial service was June 21st, 2024. I couldn't even speak. It was surreal. Dustin, your parents sent a heartless and threatening message that very morning of her service. It was unforgivable and incredibly painful. We continued to deal with one legal attack after another, pieces of the criminal processes from what you had done, constantly reopening the wound. No time to heal or grieve. Still, we will never give up on the love for Caitlyn and Elwyn and Valen. Caitlyn had so much more to do, so much she was looking forward to. Elwyn has had 2 birthdays without her mommy. Taylor has had 2 birthdays without her sister. Valen will be celebrating another birthday without her mommy. Caitlyn is missing Annie and Tyler's wedding and everything surrounding it. She had a brand new blank passport. Caitlyn died without a single stamp. Dustin, you pulled her away from her village when you moved to Nevada. Then you broke promises and pulled the rug out from under her. Know this, every time she came back to her village, she came to see me. I knew things were not good, but she tried to work with you. She did her best. When she had enough, she came home to her village again. Now we'll talk about me personally. I received the shock of being notified about Caitlyn's death. I felt it and I held myself together. Through most of that day, I held it all back, the responsible person, to be a strong mother for Caitlyn, for Bailey, for Taylor. I stuffed my emotions until the end of the day. My sister Lisa finally got my first real release of grief. Why? Then I collected myself. I went home and packed. I cried and I packed books and toys for the girls, their favorite things from my home. I cried as we arrived at the airport because my husband Tim was going to hold down the fort at home. We should be home with the girls in a few days, but he knew I would see Caitlyn and he wouldn't be with me for that. Then it turned into months before I could come home, where I could deal with the grief. We did our absolute best for the girls and we held each other up. We were strong women supporting those girls. Tim told us how proud he was of all of us on nightly phone calls from home, and I would talk to my sister each night. I would watch Elwyn, afraid to go to bed, up every 10 minutes because she was scared to dream about the things you did. She wanted her mommy. I did too. She would toss and turn at night, cry in her sleep. She wouldn't look in the mirror because she didn't like that girl. We were terrified for her. She was not okay. Valen seemed physically okay, but her mommy is suddenly gone. She didn't understand except to seek someone to trust and to bond with, someone who won't leave her, won't go away, who loves her. I stayed. Valen remembered me. I had been with her a lot, and Taylor and Annie. And then when Alicia came, both girls attached to her, Alicia looked and felt like mommy to Valen. Elwyn saw it too. This was crushing, and we needed to get home for stability. Instead, we were held hostage because of your parents' antics and actions. We should have been home where we all belonged. And this still makes me angry, justifiably angry. Delaying grief took a toll on me. Staying in fight or flight mode caused my inability to sleep, and trauma caused nightmares when I did sleep. I kept seeing what I imagined happened. Caitlyn told me what happened. She visits me. Elwyn told me what happened. I believed her. I still do. I always will. I have a therapist. Eventually, we reached the point that I needed to get medication to sleep, something to manage my anxiety and real complex PTSD, something to minimize my nightmares, then my blood pressure. I have never been on medication like I am now. I still struggle to go to sleep. Those images, my nightmares, it turns out I wasn't far off. Now I'm watching the real pictures, the evidence. Guilty, 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 guilty. Despite what you and your parents want to tell yourselves, Elwyn will always love and miss her mommy. She will tell Valen what she remembers. We will believe Elwyn. We always have. With my very last breath, I will share Caitlyn's love of her girls with them. The toll has been paid from our side. It needs to be paid from yours now. Your selfish hatred led you to take an unjustified, violent, irreversible action in front of Elwyn, endangering her, damaging Valen. You took Caitlyn's life. Then you ran through the night, neglecting the well-being of the very children that you say that you love. Elwyn, your everything, is terrified of the dark, now hates the woods. Now, Dustin Duren, you have a price to pay. I will have no problem watching you pay it. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I know the next impact statement is going to come from the WebEx, and I believe it's Teria Pashelle.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
My name is Teria Pashelle, TerriaProchel. Can the court hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Teria Pashelle. I'm Caitlyn's older half-sister. I lost Caitlyn not once, but now twice. Her death means that this time the loss is permanent. Everything I learn about my half-sister will be through the perspective of others, their stories, their experience of her, but not my experience. Not my experience as her sister. Not my experience of listening to Caitlyn tell me who she is. What her life has been like. No one can give me the experience of dreaming with Caitlyn about what her future held, or to support her in all of the dreams she was already brewing up that I was so excited for. Caitlyn was taken from me twice. But this time, it's permanent. I was estranged from my half-siblings when I was young. I didn't even know I was going to have half-siblings. I was 8 years old, and I found out Bailey was in the hospital and his mom was healthy. I was shocked. Who is this mom? My dad has a wife, and she just had a baby? Somehow he completely forgot to tell us, and we had no idea. But a new family was emerging. My full brother TJ and I started weekend visits at my dad's house. At first, Bailey was just a little kid playing around, and I didn't pay him much mind, but enjoyed having him around. And before long, the girls were born. But this was so different, and I was a little older. The birth of Caitlyn and Taylor was one of the most important moments and stages of my life. I loved being a big sister. everything. I wanted to watch them develop, learn the small little things that toddlers learn. Make sure they were taken care of. I mastered the art of multiple bottles, diapers, nap times, and how to skillfully put down one twin without waking the other one up. I loved being with them and growing up, watching them grow up. But most importantly, I got to make sure they were okay. They were safe. Because to be honest, our house really wasn't that safe. Things at my dad's had been bad and gradually got much, much worse. My stepmom eventually separated, and Lauren moved out with the kids. I did my best to keep coming on the weekends to be with them, but it became difficult and eventually impossible, and the visit stopped permanently. But my desire to be with them never stopped. And for about 25 years, I thought about them all the time. I missed them. Being the oldest of 5 is so core to my identity. The experience as a young kid of taking care of these small infants is core to my identity. And it was taken from me. I spent years searching for the kids, see if I could find them. It was hard because they changed their names. And then when I did find them, I didn't know how to go about it or who to reach out to first. Do I call Lori? We're adults now. Do I call Bailey? So I sat on it for years, just anxious, but wanting to talk to them so badly. Finally, I reached out, and we made a plan. And in December of 2023, me, my brother, TJ, Bailey, Taylor, and Caitlyn, we all met in person, and it was awkward. After so much time, but it was so heartwarming. I felt full. I was learning about them. They were learning about me. We were able to compare stories about what we'd heard our family was. Learn a little bit more about who we are individually and as a family. It was exciting. Caitlyn wanted to keep communicating with me, and she did. Started texting, we started spending time one-on-one. It started to turn into a normal sister relationship. Wasn't there yet, but it was budding. Text just for no reason, sharing funny things that happened during the day. As I got to know Caitlyn as an adult, I realized that she's silly, playful, whimsical, amazing to be around, smart. In the few weeks I had with her, she taught me so much about how her brain works, how different it is from mine, how she relates to other people and the world. And it was amazing to have someone sitting right in front of me that was related to me, but fundamentally so different and so smart in so many different ways than I am. That's what I was getting from Caitlyn, the opportunity to know her, a chance to play, to support each other, to share. And after we reunited, it felt like we were gonna have a chance to create new memories and pick up where we are as sisters moving forward. But instead of building that relationship that was just starting to bud, within weeks, Caitlyn was dead. And instead of getting to be close to her, I lost her just within weeks of getting her back. But this time it's forever. This family needs the opportunity to heal from this horrific trauma. Having Dustin anywhere in proximity to Caitlyn's family, to me, creates the potential for an emotionally devastating result. So that we all have a chance to move forward, I request that this court give Dustin the maximum sentence allowed. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Your Honor, the next statement is from Caitlyn's aunt and uncle, Lisa and Tim, and our advocate, Bianca Monroe, will be reading.
Honorable Judge Verzell, I am writing this victim impact statement to share the profound effect of the murder of my beloved Caitlyn and how it has had on me, my family, and our community. It is difficult to put into words the pain and loss we have endured, but I hope my words help convey the devastating impact of this tragedy. About my niece. Caitlyn comes from a large Midwestern family that values children, faith, family, and community. Caitlyn was vibrant, compassionate, and a loving young woman and mother to her daughters. She brought joy and laughter into our lives every day. Her kindness touched everyone she met, and her sense of humor could lighten any room. She had dreams and aspirations, and she worked hard to achieve them. Her absence has left a void that can never be filled. There is no consoling thought in the way Caitlyn died. She had so many years ahead of her. The emotional toll. Since her passing, our family has struggled daily with the overwhelming grief. The shock and the pain of losing her so suddenly and violently has shattered our sense of security. Simple moments like family gatherings, holidays, and birthdays have become reminders of her absence. We constantly relive memories, both joyful and painful, knowing we will never create new ones with her. Personally, I have faced sleepless nights, anxiety, and deep sadness. Her future has been needlessly wasted. No one deserves this. It is impossible to move forward without feeling the weight of this loss every day. My family has also suffered because of this crime. They have been affected emotionally and financially, and their daily lives have been disrupted. My other family members, especially her parents and siblings, have been forever changed by the tragedy. The lasting impact. The effects of Caitlyn's murder extend far beyond our immediate family. Family, neighbors, many of my coworkers and members of our community who knew her have expressed their sorrow and disbelief. Her absence has left everyone feeling less safe and more vulnerable. It is terrifying to me that you have such disregard for Caitlyn's life. The mother of your children. The girls suffer the loss of Caitlyn, their mommy, every day. The sense of injustice has been overwhelming. It has been difficult to find meaning or closure. There are so many questions that will never be answered, and the pain of losing someone so young and full of promise never truly fades. Our hope for justice. As this statement is read in court, I ask that Caitlyn's precious life, her dreams, and the love she shared be remembered. We hope that justice will serve in handing down the maximum sentence for these crimes, not only to hold Dustin Duren responsible and accountable for taking Caitlyn's life, but also to honor her memory and help our family begin the long process of healing. Nothing can bring Caitlyn back, but we hope that by sharing our pain and loss, her life and value will be recognized, and her voice will be heard. Conclusion. Thank you for the opportunity to express how deeply Caitlyn's murder has affected us. We continue to cherish her memories and strive to find strength in each other as we move forward. We ask the court to consider the immeasurable impact of our loss when determining the sentence of this case.
Thank you.
I apologize. The next statement is also to be read by Ms. Monroe, and it is of Caitlyn's grandparents, Barb and Dom.
Honorable Judge Rizal, we want to share with you our deep, personal, and heartfelt statement reflecting on the profound impact Caitlyn had on her family and the immense loss we feel without her. Caitlyn grew up in Minnesota, surrounded by a loving family who cared for and depended on her. I am Barb Daly, her maternal grandmother, and I often needed Caitlyn's help to do things I couldn't manage on my own. Caitlyn had an uncanny ability to notice what needed to be done and would quickly take care of tasks before I even had the chance to ask. Her presence and assistance were invaluable to me. Dustin, if only you had allowed your family to return home to Minnesota safely. Our family misses Caitlyn's interactions with our grandchildren and great-grandchildren immensely. We miss her charming smile, her warm hugs, as well as her helpful ways. She had a unique talent for loving and involving all the little ones, whether they were hers or others. Caitlyn had the remarkable ability to keep everyone happy, including the adults watching her. She was an exceptional mother who knew how to create a joyful and harmonious environment. When Caitlyn and her family moved to Nevada, we felt her absence deeply. However, we were overjoyed when she returned home to Minnesota, and then the unthinkable happened. Dustin, if only you had allowed your family to return home to Minnesota safely. We are in the last years of our life and are now left feeling sad and brokenhearted due to the actions of Dustin. He did not consider the devastating impact his actions would have on their little girls, leaving them frightened and heartbroken. Our family is forever changed by the loss of Caitlyn, and we grieve for the love and light she brought into our lives. We don't know how we will ever recover from this horrible loss. There just is not enough time. Thank you for taking the time to read this statement. It is a small window into the profound sorrow and loss our family is experiencing. Respectfully.
Thank you.
Your Honor, the next impact statement will be on the WebEx, and this is Caitlyn's cousin, Annie Naffziger.
You're on mute. Let me try that again. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
My name is Annie Naffziger. It's A-N-N-I-E, Naffziger, Naffziger. I'm writing a statement of my siblings, Madeline and Trenton. Your Honor, we beg that you sentence Dustin to the maximum possible sentence. Caitlyn, or Chi, as most called her, was our cousin. She is deeply important to our family and will never be the same without her. Growing up, despite our age difference, we were all very close. One summer, both of our families, 4 adults, 6 children, all lived in one house. We played together daily. She, along with her siblings, taught us the importance of Lord of the Rings, told us scary stories of the witch who lived in the neighborhood, and she even taught me my first swear word. She taught my older sister Madeline how to drive a manual transmission when she was old enough, and we all stayed close into adulthood, bonding over holidays, trips to our family cabin, and with Chi, usually live music and art fairs. She first told me she was pregnant with Elowen by coming to my house and bringing me a fairy wand, asking me to be her baby's godmother. I accepted with tears in my eyes and was able to hold Elowen on the night she was born. Years later, when Caitlyn was in labor with Balin, I massaged her neck and held her hand while Dustin played on his phone across the room. When our family first met the prosecutors on this case, they gave us a warning. They told us that the justice system is not built for the benefit of the victims and instead would be biased towards Dustin. It will silence Chi, but it'll give him every opportunity to spew his lies. Though I would be happy to never have to speak about Dustin again, I think it's important that I be Chi's voice in this courtroom because he made sure that no one would ever be able to hear her again. I'd like to set the record straight on a few items. Though he spread countless lies in the courtroom, I'm only going to speak to the ones that I have personal knowledge of. Though there are many more that I won't address today, the jury proved that we can all use our common sense to dispel those. Chi never wanted Dustin to take Ellen to New Hampshire. Dustin was only able to take her after immense manipulation, as he made her fear for her own safety as well as the safety of the girls if she were to try and stop him. She certainly didn't blindside him with a move to Minnesota from Nevada, as he was the one who ordered and paid for the pods that were sent to Minnesota. And I know this because she was not able to get her own items out of the pod in Minnesota since it was exclusively in his name. Any amount of money that she requested of Dustin was to pay her back for the minimum $20,000 that he had leached from her throughout the course of their relationship. Certainly not as any sort of ransom. Dustin lured Chi to Las Vegas by claiming he'd work at the post office until he found something that aligned with his passion. What he did instead was quit without consulting her after a month or two. He refused to get another job for the 3 years they lived in Vegas. During that time, Chi worked at least 3 jobs at a time to support Ellen and keep a roof over their heads. Dustin did not bring in any income, yet he had no problem running up their bills, including refusing to sell his car, forcing Chi to make the payments, until she ultimately had to sell her own car to stay afloat. He also tried to stop her from using food stamps and government assistance, despite him being unwilling to get a job himself. He kept her in debt so that she had no choice but to stay. Dustin had laid his hands on Chi before, and though I can only wish she told us sooner, she told me after I had to help her file 2 separate police reports after Dustin refused to return the girls based on their agreed-upon custody schedule in Minnesota. The reason he wouldn't let the girls leave with their mother was because she was afraid to tell him the address that she was living. She told Dustin's parents that day that she was scared of him, that he wasn't a safe person, and that he had guns. Dustin's dad, Mark, told her that that wasn't true, that she and the girls were safe around Dustin. This was only a few months before Dustin shot her in the head with a gun that his father gave him. Ellen was not okay, and certainly not happy after she both watched and felt her mom be murdered. Anyone who spent more than a few minutes with her could tell you that. She recounted her mother's murder to anyone who listened nearly every day for weeks following the crime. But as this is a courtroom, I should be fair to Dustin. I should tell you I do believe you on some items as well. I believe you that she refused to leave your house without her daughters. I believe that because she loved them fiercely, and leaving them with you would have been subjecting them to a life of abuse, control, and isolation. I believe you when you said your computer was your life. I believe you in your first police interview when you said you knew what you did was wrong, but clearly no one could believe you when you said you were ready to accept any consequences. Despite all the trauma and heartbreak you've caused, I'll rest easier after today. At the end of the day, I will leave you to carry all of my pain, all of my suffering, and I will get to leave today as free as a bird. I'll go and wrap my arms around my goddaughters Ellen and Balin and find solace knowing that neither they nor any other women will ever be harmed by you again. Your Honor, thank you for the opportunity to offer a victim impact statement. The murder of our cousin continues to haunt us more all the time. We feel the loss of her at each passing holiday, where her small hands were always preparing our family's traditional meals, tidying up after an eventful game night, or joining in telling stories around the fire. With her humble demeanor and go-with-the-flow vibes, she always put others ahead of herself and would try to facilitate everybody else's good time. Our family portraits will always have an unfillable void where a small but mighty woman once stood. Chi's children will continue to grow older without her direct love, care, or guidance of the wonderful mother who made them. No penalty would be sufficient to remedy the loss of Caitlyn, but we hope that Dustin's punishment is for life. There should never be a day where he feels he's paid his penance for taking Chi's life, as there will never be a day that our broken hearts will be whole again. Thank you.